morning. This is Melissa Holden, and I'm just going to make a really quick, seriously this time, a really quick video about some of the things, because it's been a year. It's time for me to do a review of this year. So I've been trying to learn, not really trying to learn, but trying to enunciate in Icelandic, and it's a lot harder than relearning to speak English. I took that in college and that was hard. But things like, it's just the placement of your mouth. It's difficult for me because my disability is what I should call it. But because my teeth, it changes the shape of my mouth, so I practice with or without my teeth and it sounds different. So what is it? In Icelandic, to me, it's like the set you have to have. It's like when I teach my daughter different things, she has a terrible time saying "lelekyo." That's really hard for her because she can't get the yo. She says yo. I don't even know if I can do it because my teeth are, without my teeth, maybe L, yo. I don't know, I practice it so much that yo. It's everything. It's like the tongue is close to the roof of your mouth and the back. It's the same thing with saying, you do it in the back of your mouth. It's hard for me because words start with, okay, I'm getting off on sidetracks. I did notice though that some of my tangents are unlike anything that anyone else is saying, and that might be interesting to people because it'll be an original thought, and that makes something I have to say worthwhile, huh? So, one of my thoughts about Icelandic, I don't even know if I should say this. It's really out there. In the Book of Mormon, there's it's a book called Jacob, who's a son of Nephi, and he is recording something that the prophet Zenos wrote in the book of Isaiah. I don't know where he got it. He got it somewhere. He had somehow had this words of it. They maybe had all these kinds of books. Anyway, in it there's this parable about an olive tree. It's an allegory. Now, not everybody thinks in allegories, but around my house we do. So they have this. They want good fruit, right? The olives, and the tree was the tree that was the best tree, and it was wanted, but it got old and it stopped producing fruit. They wanted to preserve the fruit, but they didn't have any. So what they did is they took the branches off of it and put each one in a different place, and they described the different places anyway. And it's a metaphor or allegory for the tribes of Israel. Like each one is put in a different place and preserved. And eventually they'll be brought back to the original root. And then they'll bloom and they'll have the original fruit, the same one. Because when you put them in something else, even the ones that they all survive. But anyway, and the reason I mentioned that is because that's a backstory for what I was thinking about this morning. I was thinking about, well, a lot of things were preserved. Just send them to Iceland, and they don't have contact with other people. I was thinking about the Icelandic language in particular. That's what made me think of it. And I recently heard someone say something about how our minds don't work in words. We translate it, and that's exactly that whole thought process of mine was just instant. I was like, oh, that's how it was preserved. It was taken out of its place and put in place somewhere. And now it's been preserved, so and I don't even know how to translate it into words what I was thinking. Anyway, another thought I'll just say right here, since I'm in that process anyway. I've had a lot of concern. Not concern like, oh, I'm so worried. I was concerned this morning when there was ice on the sidewalk and my daughter had to walk to school. that's concern. This is, maybe I shouldn't use the word concern. A lot of preoccupation with the idea that there is no temple on the whole country and island of Iceland. And that bothers me. And I don't know why. It shouldn't bother me. What do I care? They're very secular people anyway. They aren't interested in, if anything, they have a lot of churches and they don't want any more churches or temples or those things. But anyway, I keep thinking that a lot. I keep thinking, well, not that I'm ever going to move there anyway, but I was like, well, so what if I get really good at the language and want to move there? There's no temple there. I'd have to go to Stockholm, I think, is the closest one. Well, what if something happens, like this year, earlier this year, that they were saying something about an earthquake, and if it, okay, now it came to mind another thing I was watching, and I'm not going to talk anymore about it, but anyway, there's earthquakes because there's faults, right? It's like half of it's the Atlantic plate and half of it's the the continents. Anyway, they have earthquakes there a lot, but they were talking about this one volcano, and if it erupted and if it was a geyser volcano and it shot out, it might affect the sky or the airport mostly. Who cares how? I don't remember how it would affect, whether it would be lava or affect the sky, but anyway, then they would be completely isolated and we'd be unable to get people in and out. So then they're going to need something for the people. Anyway, that's on my mind a lot, but I totally digress. I was just wanting to say, I was thinking a lot about the language and how much I was trying to say the word éclairé, and I can't because of the vowels. I was like, well, they're there, but they're not really there. And that made me think about the trouble I had trying to read in Hebrew, because it's the same thing. The vowels are not there. And someone who speaks knows. It's just like if I wrote my name and didn't write any vowels. I would know it says Melissa. And I've seen the name Melissa spelled lots of different ways. I've seen M-A-L. Like when I was in the hospital, there was people with name tags M-A-L-L-I-S or C-S. Anyway, and it was spelled really strange, and I'm like, that your name is Melissa, right? Because that's how it sounds, Melissa. Melissa. Made sense. And I've seen people spell it with 2 S's and 1 S and all kinds of things. But anyway, if I took the vowels out and wrote M-L-L or just M-L-S-A, you'd look at it and say Melissa. It doesn't matter what vowels you made. If you'd be speaking more Greek, like the original Melita or whatever, if you said me. Anyway, but you get the point that I didn't make, right? About it being a lot like Hebrew. Okay, and so I was having trouble with saying 11 because I can't say the foo right. I've listened to other people say it, recordings of it. I look it up on Google Translate. That's what I use, and it always says it differently than what person. But the person sounds like they have a really good accent. I'm not stupid. I shouldn't believe it's dependable just because it sounds good. Anyway, so I can't say that. And the other one I'm having trouble with is I just rather say Landekart than a fair. I can't say that, or how much something costs. I just say off it, because I can't say how much does it cost. What's the price? Anyway, so I worked a whole lot on saying it, because you have to say am, right? Yeah, and it's learning to roll the R on the back of your tongue instead of the tip. Like, and I notice that, like, when I say words, I always start with my tongue is on the front of my teeth, and there's words that start that. If it's at the end, I can do it. it has another vowel. But I was trying to say, I can say that now too, but because it starts with a thorn. And then I said that English sound. Anyway, if there's an attack, I do it American way. I attack it on the front because in my mind, neural pathways have been established that when you attack, enunciate, you always it's in the front of your mouth, and so it's really hard for me. I was just trying to practice a whole lot enunciating by going. But before I do that, I always make a sound. It's like a. So I attack it with something else like a. See, I always do that, and I was like, don't do that. I just want to go. I did that time. I said beforehand. I can't do it. I can't just attack because I have it ingrained in my mind that attack has to be in front of the mouth. So I go, and then to roll the R the proper way, I had to do it in the back of my mouth. So I go. That gives me enough time to get get my tongue in the right place. But I can't just have it there. I probably did something that time. Anyway, that's what I wanted to talk about. That's what I hope to learn. Maybe I'll report back in another year and say, guess what? I know how to do it now. I also have been using, lately I've been using Drops. It's an application. It teaches you a whole lot of vocabulary, but you know, even with that, I've noticed some words are not what they say they are, like Morgan Matur. I didn't say my R, Matur. Anyway, I'm not good at saying my R's at the end anyway. I say, it's just a sound, Anyway, and then another time it has Matur is food. I was like, is it meal or food? And there's a lot of things. It's basically the same thing. That's why I tell you, don't get caught up in trying to understand and translate exact words like as a word thing. It's just an idea, something that goes in your mouth. And I was telling my kids about that because they're like, well, I thought you said that snack was not S-N-A-R-L, but you said it like S-N-A-K-K. I'm like, well, it's basically the same thing. Don't worry about it. Because there was a snack pocky or something. Oh, well, like I say, I tell them all the time, just don't get caught up on that. And that's why I'm like, there's some words that I cannot understand how they get that sound from that. It could just be who I'm listening to, and they're just talking. That's why I tend to like to go with what I hear instead of what I'm looking at, because like one of the words that I struggled with for a very long time was to in English, face. I could say it just fine because all I did was what I did was I'm not reading it at all. I was just listening to another person say it, and I'm like, they say it fine. And then I'm like, they're saying, and then from someone who does music and singing, and it's all about how you sound. I was like, they say T, face. And that worked. And from then on, I just say face. It's not like I go around saying two anyway, but if I had to say like to go twice, I don't have to pause and think about it. I just know now it's face. That's what it sounds like. But if you look at it, it's T, V, is it I-E-R or E-I-R? I can't remember. Either way, if you try to sound that severe, I don't know. I'm like, I can't say it. I was having a similar problem saying 12 in German. See, I have to listen to them again because I don't remember how they did it. But when I tried to say it, it's like, that must be my American accent coming through. If I said it that way, they'd probably laugh at me. Because that's what I think it looks like, but spelled. It was like, it had like an O, but they say it like an F, E, twelve. Like the way we spelled it, Twel, spell, 12. Anyway, and the other thing, my kids, I can't get them to imitate the sound for me because I like to hear it, and I'm like, can you please make that sound for me? And they're like, what sound? I'm like, well, say this word, W-I-D-E-O, and they're like, video? I'm like, yeah, but don't say video, say video. And they're like, that's what I said. And I'm like, no, it's not really a V, but it's not a W. Because I've been listening to words where they're written in English, and an Icelandic person tries to say it, and they say video. And I'm like, no, ours is a definite V, a definite W. But they're both the same to them. And the reason I'm saying that is because the 12 thing. Spelled. Video. It's like a V. It's like a W, but it's like a V too. Oh, did I ever say that word? That's one of the words that I've been working on. That's my practice word, vocabulary word. Because I can't say that. I'm probably getting the vowel wrong. Price. I can't say that. Anyway, like I was started out, let me jump back here. Jump back to end. This was going to be super quick. I've been using drops and learning a lot of vocabulary, but you know, it's not going to help me because, like, if I could say, is that your car? It would be different than saying the car needs gas. It could be a different word, even. And so I struggle. And that's where I am a year later. We'll see where I am a year. I haven't been working at it full time, mind you. This is me just kind of gradually. I have nothing pushing me on to learn, because why? Why would I learn Icelandic? Because I want to. Do you need to? No. Is there anyone who speaks it that you speak to? No. Do you have any books in Icelandic? No. I saw a really good TV show, and I read the subtitles, and I was like, that does not look like what they said. So, who knows what I'll do, but anyway, I still don't have a catchphrase. I'm going to go pontificate some more.